I wonder, Mr. Thomas, if we could just let readers know the general premise of this book. It centers around two brothers.
That's right. And they begin their existence in the Caribbean island of St. Vincent. And they come to Montreal when one of them is 17 and the other one is 11. And they work out the drama of their lives as they struggle to cope with the new reality that they find in Montreal.
Now, certain readers are bound to draw certain connections between one or both of these brothers and your own experience. I wonder if you could talk a little about how they might be related or might not, as the case may be.
Well, in many respects, I think I identify very strongly with Jay. I see my values reflected in him, not necessarily because I deliberately set out to do so, but in hindsight, I see many of them there. Paul may very well be a part of me that I have suppressed. I've thought about that too, in hindsight. They bear some loose resemblance to aspects of reality in my own family, not on a strict basis, but certain memories that my imagination elaborated and altered. Yeah.
They arrive in Montreal at what historical epoch? Is it sort of the...
Well, they arrive here in 1997, July 1997.
What was it about that time that made you want to write about it?
Well, I'm not sure why I chose that particular year. I know the ice storm occurred, for example, in the winter of 97, 98. And in a sense, I thought it was a good introduction for them to winter. It also was a post-referendum period. And I'm not sure I can say much more about that. Yes.
Well, writing about brothers, specifically writing about that dynamic, how was that for you?
Well, in my own particular case, I grew up, although I had several siblings, I grew up as an only child. I lived with my grandparents as an only child. And I always felt a deep need for a brother to share with, and so on and so forth, and in a certain sense. My imagination created one. I think perhaps that might be the best way to see the autobiographical connection between these characters.
You don't need to make too much of any of the autobiographical elements.
No,
it's a work of fiction.
but it's true.
Okay.
It's true.
And maybe just a little about, before we go into a reading, about the title of the novel, Safeguards.
Well, in the novel itself, there is a great deal of discussion that certain forms of parenting can guarantee a certain result in terms of what children grow up to be. And that's patently false. And so I thought it provided a convenient title for the novel. And then I was confirmed in reading Wordsworth's Preludes. I came upon this reflection by Wordsworth, put in verse, that nature and literature could safeguard us against all sorts of ills in the world and a certain kind of meanness and so on and so forth, which I felt was patent nonsense. And so it inspired me, all of that inspired me to keep the title, No Safeguards.